So I want you to look up one word and one term, one phrase. First word is facade. The second is smoke screen. Also, it's good to know what a covert operation is, but I'm sure you know what it is already. Stealth operation, covert ops, etc. So, what the Reform School is a covert operation from the military-industrial complex. It's important to differentiate between your average officer and the industrial complex that determines the policies that are carried out by the military. Just like the federal government has the final say in the policies that are carried out in the prisons, whether or not certain things are unconstitutional, and they're going to step in and take action. So the accountability is not there. That's why in the case in Seattle they allowed the dash cams to go missing and nobody reviewed them, because nobody is looking at the criminals who are hiding behind the color of law, because they know that that's part of the white power structure, part of the criminal white power structure that keeps this country moving in the direction that it is, and paying, now that they've accumulated so much of the wealth of the world, that they have so much of a say in things that nobody wants to go against them. They rather bootlick to them. So now it has come the time when Jesus made it very clear to me that a sword has come. And it's not the government versus the terrorists. That's what they want you to think. It's the good guys versus the bad guys. It's that simple. It's the very simple principles you've understood since you're a little kid. In this world, some people are bad people, and some people are good people. And some people who used to be bad people, and then became good people. But at any given time and space, that is what it is. Being good is relative to time and space. So, for example, the me of yesterday was a bad person. The me of a few hours back, 10, 12 hours back, was trying to do the right thing, but was misled by the bootlicking elite who try to control the movement to do the right thing. Like, oh, you want to do the right thing? Well, join our bootlicking elite movement, and you can have all these special privileges that comes with siding with the elite, with the establishment cronies. Now, you understand, it's like the technocrats that Alex Jones brings up, but it's much, much worse than that. Much worse. I bring up the time, I believe it was last year, that it was around the end of last year that a lot of people in the mafia, a lot of rabbis, were arrested on the East Coast with a lot of government officials as well, in a conspiracy. Had to do with drugs, prostitution, you name it, bribery. Had to do with white-collar crime. The white-collar crime and the white-collar criminals have infiltrated the government. It's that simple. Everyone knows that that is the case, but they have underestimated the degree to which it is the case. It is to such a degree that it guarantees racism. It guarantees that my people will not have a fair say. I would compare it to the Libyans who are living in a country that are controlled by a bunch of militias who have come together under a fascist ideal that if they group together, they have more power. The idea that all the militias came together under was fascism. It was a fascist, terrorist, government-sponsored movement against Gaddafi. And just like in Egypt, when they moved against Mubarak, the government of America said, we're going to cut off the $1.2 billion plus that we're going to send you in aid, and all the covert aid too, if you don't further our agenda. Because we did not replace your government for no reason. This is the incentive. This is the contingency plan in case you'd forget who buttered your bread when you were fighting against your quote-unquote oppressor, who was really your liberator, but we've been demonizing him and infiltrating him and making him look the part. So our Manchurian candidate is guaranteed to give us our North American Union and the people we need to go along with it are the civilized tribes, the Freemasons, and everyone else you look at and you don't think that they're part of a group that is oppressing you when you look at them because they look like a regular person, because you've been taught that there aren't secret societies everywhere holding you down when there are. You've been taught that the racism is a problem of the past and that the Ku Klux Klan no longer exists. And if they exist, it's just a few harmless rednecks in the middle of the woods somewhere. That is not the case. They have infiltrated the government. They have infiltrated the FBI. They have infiltrated everything successfully. When they infiltrated the government, they decided to infiltrate the Panthers because they had shown the government how to infiltrate by infiltrating the government with their racist ideology and candidates. Remember all the elections between racist candidates that took place in the South, in the North, before we got to this point, before the Civil Rights Act in the 60s. I believe it was 1964, before the Civil Rights Movement, before the Wash Riots from 65 and the ones in 67 and the ones in 92, before all the countless gang riots not included. You know, before the government convinced you to point the blame at somebody else and not blame the fact that they are trying to bring in a bunch of fucking immigrants, create a North American fucking union, and use a bunch of fucking liberal eugenicists and white racist conservatives in one big collaboration effort to bring down the black man, because somebody has to be the sacrificial lamb. Somebody has to bear the brunt. Somebody has to be the subjects, okay? The subjugated people, the subordinated people. Somebody has to be labeled the underprivileged. Somebody has to be labeled inferior. Somebody has to be labeled below you in some shape or form in order for you to justify what you're doing to them. And if they start doing too good in sports, then we're going to downplay their achievement. If they start citing that they have done too good in sports, then we'll start downplaying their achievement in sports. We will control the lens of the American people and what is cool and what is normal and what gets you somewhere in life. We will use universities to train you to follow our agenda and to make you think that you're being revolutionary, to make you think that you're doing what's in your best interest and in your people's best interest. The only answer to fighting these devils is a multi-front battle. We have to fight them on many different fronts, using many different tactics, many different formations, many different revolutionary stations.